The recording. What are we? June 19th, Cord Tst. All right, so we don't have a long agenda today, but I wanted to make sure we spend a couple minutes touching base on both the plans going forward with SEBA and the 6.0 release. Let's start with SEBA this time. I think we started with 6.0 last time. So just to bring everyone up to speed, there's a lot of moving parts here. We're trying to, as ONF, align all of the interested parties and get this implementation stream kicked off. I don't know that there's a lot concrete that we can say just yet, except I'm going to go on a limb and say that the kickoff SEBA implementation meeting, implementation/architecture, not to be confused with the reference to design, which is another thing. What I think we're going to try to do is use this time slot, since we know it works for a lot of people, to do a kickoff meeting next Tuesday at this time. So hopefully that, having put that out there, will be a forcing function to get everything ready to launch then. Bill, is there anything else to say about that?
No, just that there'll be more information coming through the mailing list soon. I guess we could say that we have a very good product owner for this initiative with Mike Gasser from AT&T and an expert Scrum Master with Zach. So I think we're getting set up to successfully drive it as a project.
Good. Just FYI, there's a wiki page as one of the. It's on the Cord wiki, but it's the Wolf is there, our Cord's there. There's a bunch of stuff, so we just went ahead and added a SEBA wiki page, and there is a SEBA Jira project as /board as well. So all the mechanistic pieces are coming into place, and watch your email. And like I said, we're expecting that next Tuesday's 10 o'clock Pacific time slot will be a kickoff SEBA meeting. So what does that mean to Cord? I proposed, so it was a very pragmatic thing. We're not canceling the Cord Tst. It's just that we know this is a good time slot. A focus of the broader Cord project is going to be SEBA. So we're going to go ahead and offer that up. That means we need to find another time for the Cord Tst, although, as we've discussed before, they're not likely to be maybe quite as many of those. There'll be a little bit more on demand. Just off the top of my head, we had the other alternative time slot, which was 4 o'clock on Tuesday, 4 o'clock Pacific time on Tuesdays. We could go ahead and use that for the time being as needed. I don't know if there's any other thoughts on that, or maybe we can just go ahead and make that a decision.
And maybe we can, depending on what the agenda is, Larry, if somebody's in Asia time zone versus European, we can pick a morning versus evening slot.
Sure. And as it is, as of this moment, I don't have any firm agenda. So let's put it this way. We know we have that time slot that we could use. That would be maybe the first option, but depending on what the agenda is, we might have to adjust that. So we talked about this last time, so I'm not going to belabor the point. Cord Tst continues to exist. Cord is still an umbrella project that has multi-access as an objective. It has mCord as an objective. It has SEBA/rCord as a subcase. So it's not going away. It's just that we believe that a lot of our time and energy is going to go on the SEBA side, and so it makes sense to make this adjustment. I think there's also, I'm not sure if Jim is on or not. I mean, there's the question of Cord. I think the same thing goes for it. And that subcommunity, I think, is fully aware of this, that a lot of what had been a separate Cord call will be subsumed into SEBA for the time being. And again, longer term, it may may take up again in a more general purpose way, and there may be subcases that come out of MCORD. That's still all a possibility. But just in terms of not having too many meetings during the week, we're going to assume that the ACORD meetings get pulled into some variant of SEBA. And by the way, on the SEBA front, it'll be for the SEBA development team / product owner to figure out how to set up, to what extent there are also NEM specific calls and Volta specific calls. And I believe both is going to continue as is for now. And so maybe a SEBA turns out to be a project wide call, and maybe the NEM work fits under there. I don't know. We don't need to prejudge that.
Larry, quick question.
Yep.
And you may be reasoning this out right now, but this is going to change focus to SEBA implementation. Is that, or are you saying that's synonymous with it, using the new O&F terms, with the exemplar platform, or not necessarily?
Yeah, it's our current working model is that there will be a SEBA exemplar platform. Exemplar almost by definition means there can be others.
Yes.
But this certainly is where a lot of O&F engineering energy is going to be focused. And
so is that what, I guess what I'm saying is that what this call is about? Is this about a SEBA exemplar platform implementation?
Yes, thank you. Yes, just to be clear, there is a separate SEBA reference design meeting. And that's clearly they're going to be related, but we're talking specifically about the SEBA exemplar platform, or a SEBA exemplar platform. And in this broader scheme of things, one might have imagined the reference designs would be out in front of the exemplar platforms. In this particular case, they're going to be developed in parallel and hopefully inform each other. And that's for the very simple reason that we have time pressure to do trials. And so we just can't sit, wait around for a reference design and then start doing implementation work. Other questions about the Cord Tst calls in SEBA? Again, you'll need to tune in next Tuesday to get SEBA organizes itself and figures out how it's going to either have single calls or fork calls off. That's still TBD. Okay. Let's talk about the release. In my way of looking at it, the release now depends of 6.0 depends on the status of the two profiles. So let's start with the R-Cord profile.
I think we will have some closure on it today. I think most things are in place. We just need to verify it. Whatever was targeted for 6.0.
Okay, anything else to add? Cord?
Sorry, I was muted. For R-Cord, I guess we have some feedbacks coming from the deployment. My concerns are more for Volta, but I guess we'll be able to use to include the bug fix that we have in Volta 1.4.1 at some point, right, Jono? So this means also that at some point we'll need to create a Cord 6.0.1 that uses Volta 1.4.1.
Yeah, I guess if we decide to do that.
Well, I mean, if we have bug, it's not optional to solve it, right? We have bugs and we have to solve them, I guess. What do you mean if we decide to do that?
Yeah, I think the question from a Cord point of view, the answer is yes. I think the only question is whether at that point, that bug fix is more critical to SIBA than to Cord. I would say, to the extent we can stamp out a 601 simply, and we ought to because of the way the new build, the versioning system works. It'll be a test of that, but certainly.
All right, sorry for the interruption, just checking.
Yeah. Yeah, so for a while, the 6.0 or 6.01, whatever follows, release of Cord is the seed starting point for SIBA. So there's clearly SIBA motivations for getting those bug fixes in. Yeah, if at some point down the way SIBA drifts too far from Cord, we'll have to reevaluate whether we put in the effort to do a new Cord release to catch up, or whether we wait a while for that. Okay, Cord.
So I think the main thing that's still missing on Cord is showing the physical eNode B working with 6.0 with real phones. So with Carmelo's help, we were able to get the eNode B connected to the Cord pod, and connectivity looks fine. I think that the eNode B has been configured in the right way, but we haven't hooked phones up to it and showed that it actually works. It seems like it would be really useful to have ping for that, because I think, at least at the people who are physically at ONF, she might be the most informed as to how to actually do this final step. I don't know her status. I was going to try to get in touch with her later today. So that's the main thing we're missing for 6.0. I don't quite know a time frame of when we might get that ironed out, but hopefully this week. The other thing that is still in progress is testing for Cord. QA team is working on setting up some tests, but I don't think they're available yet. But my expectation is by the end of the week we should be in good shape.
Suchitra, do you have any? Thanks, Andy. Anything to add?
Yes, regarding our Cord testing, we are at a good shape. Actually, we made a very good progress from last week with the OLT and ONU, all the setup, and then we were able to configure many, based on the documentation, and we found some fixes in the documentation, and also found a couple bugs while testing this. And we still have to complete the end-to-end testing from the data plane side, which is still pending. So that mostly, I'm hoping that it should be done by end of this week. We'll be in a good shape about that. And based on the agreed test plan items, everything else has been completed except this data plane testing for Cord Lite, and all other jobs and the build jobs and everything is set up and everything are running good. And the bug fixes and the bugs also, whatever we are finding, development is fixing them whenever we requested for. That's going good. And regarding Cord, as Andy mentioned, we are still working on the setting up of the build job. We still have some issues, and hopefully we should be able to finish them again by end of this week, hoping that we don't face any other issues in the during the course of our work. I think as per this plan, we still need, for QA, we still need 1 more weeks of time. By Monday, I think we should be in a good shape, because even during the weekend, we just plan to run some of the tests and then do some iterations before we give a pass on this release.
Okay, so it sounds like when you said a week's time, that would put the official release, if nothing blows up on us, at the end of next week, if I heard you correctly.
Yes, mostly. maybe mid of next week, probably Tuesday, Wednesday should be a good time.
Okay. Then we're well within our window of what we expected, and that's all great. Back to the
I think
handset
that
for a second. Do we have a plan B? Or
You mean like a plan B without MCOD or?
no, a plan B of how we can test the physical eNode B?
No, I don't know what, I think that I don't know, maybe somebody who has experience with the eNode B can talk about it. I guess maybe plan B is, so we have a collaborator at Intel Research who's also trying to get things set up. It's possible that if we're not able to get in touch with Ping Ping, that he can help us out, but I'm not sure of his availability. But I guess that's the other option for verifying it.
So I'm a little confused as to how. I mean, how do you automate a QA test with a handset? Just to put it in most naive terms.
So I guess what I was talking about was just somebody manually going through the steps to get this set up and saying, thumbs up, yes, I've seen it work.
Oh, okay.
So that's a much lower bar than automating it in QA.
Okay.
I just think that we need to go through that and document it.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, I feel better about it now.
If Ping Ping doesn't come back this week, maybe I can coordinate that with Andy. I can try to do that locally here.
That would be great. I think this is the biggest unknown right now, as I hear it, and it would be good to get that closed off so we aren't hanging on it.
I have to first locate where the phones are, but I'm sure we'll be able to find them.
Okay, that sounds great, Oz. Yeah, we can sync up about that.
Yeah, let's sync up about that.
so.
All right. So we're looking at it somewhat optimistically, but fairly realistic that a week from today is we are able to close the books on 6.0. Other topics, or are we done early?
So just one thing about the release, that this time it won't be a one-click process because we are going to release all the components independently and we need to update dependencies between them. So if no one has any pending patch set on the core, I will say that we can start cutting an RC for XOS core and stamping that out so we can start updating all the services and later in the week cut RCs for those.
What do you consider core? I had 2 patches on the Volta hand chart.
No, the core I was talking about the XOS core. So the XOS core container, Chameleon, the GUI, and Toaster.
Okay.
Scott, that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, cool. So we'll get in touch with Zach that was working on the automation. I think he's back tomorrow, and we'll see. We'll try to start doing RCs for some pieces.
Anything else? Okay, well, we will see many of you back here next week under a different banner.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.